I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barton watching Black T News. Hello, welcome to Black T News. I'm your host, Christina Barton. Today, we're going to be talking about Matt Gaetz. Of course, he withdrew his name the other day from being Attorney General, and Trump replaced that nominee with Pam Bondi, which people are very happy about, except, MSNBC, because they're mad because Trump picked someone who they know can do the job and is competent. And apparently that's scarier than someone who they didn't think could do the job right. So it's very interesting. So we'll be talking about that. Also, Matt Gaetz is not returning to Congress at all. So that's interesting. People are speculating on why. I want to play this video of Megyn Kelly talking about the Pete Hegseth case. Charlie Kirk had her on. She went through the details of the case that you're not going to hear reported in mainstream news because they want to make him seem like he's some kind of rapist, but that doesn't seem like that's the case from the actual reports and stuff. So we'll play that. Also, I want to talk about a little bit from earlier in the week. I played for you guys a video from a guy who said he wanted to understand why we didn't see Trump as some kind of like authoritarian threat, given like things that Trump said, but the things that he mentioned were taken out of context and stuff. So there's been some updates, at least some back and forth that he's had, other people responding and him kind of responding to people's responses. And I'm not going to go ahead and play those videos because they're quite long, but I'll just sum it up for you guys. And also big news, Trump, his sentencing for the New York trial with Alvin Bragg and the 34 felony counts, that's pretty much done. People were saying that he was running to basically stay out of prison, and there was some truth there. So it's canceled indefinitely right now. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. If they're going to try to wait 4 years when he's like super, super old to try to get him and put him, in prison the rest of his life. I would have liked to have the whole thing like overturned. It was such a silly thing that they obviously did to get him. And it's gross. It's disgusting. It's a abuse of our justice system. And this is why people don't have faith in our institutions and why people are frankly ready for Trump to just bring in people who are going to do a lot of reforms, and why we're ready for such change. I want there to be competent change. Don't get me wrong, but I just think there should be change. And yesterday I talked about how there's a lot of people upset, and I don't want to hear from those people who basically screwed up the system in the first place. Like, they can take all the seats. But anyway, before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all that good stuff. So you guys can support. I appreciate it. You guys can also support by sending, super chats, or if you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. It's another way to support. The best way to support is go directly to the website. You guys can also check out different merch that's available at the store, like the Black Tea mug, or the I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For t-shirt, and other stuff as well. You guys can also check out different books that I have written. There's a link in the description of watching on Facebook and YouTube that should take you to my Amazon page, where you guys can see my stuff and purchase it if you would like, and you can learn more at ninjadustpublishing.com. That's my book website. Another way to get to it would be to if you go to Black Tea News, there's a banner that will take you to my book website on the merchandise page. Speaking of my books and stuff, I've been showing some concept art for this children's book that I'm working on. And so I just happen to have it next to me. So I'm going to see so that's a little baby dinosaur for my book. My youngest sister, Tina, sometimes you guys see her in the chat. I know some of you actually have followed her and will watch her streaming. She will paint and stream and talk and all that stuff on YouTube and also on Twitch. So her website for her art is tina's textportraits.com. But she made my little baby dinosaur. That's the star of my book right there. Bigger, which I was inspired by my nephew, because when he was a toddler, he kept saying bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I made this little story about a dinosaur who has a dream of just being bigger. And so there's some more concept art right there. His mom, look, and there's this tree, this beautiful tree that, well, they like to go and kind of hang out at, and so we wanted to be big like the tree. So this was some like a sheet that we had for Motor City Comic Con, because we wanted some concept art. Originally I wanted to have the book available by then, but life happens, and life happened pretty hard the past couple months anyway for me and my family. So anyway, when it's done, I'll be so happy when it's finished, when I can share it with you guys. But it's a really cool book. Thank you, Shawnee Ray. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you think it's cute. And there's some really cool illustrations in it. And so people, have been responding saying they really like her art. And they someone who followed her, because she was painting, she's working on some of these images while she's doing her stream. Like I told her, I said, hey, if you want to work on, because usually she would like paint her little teeny tiny paintings when she would go live. And I said, if you want to work on the book while you go live, you can do that. And so she wanted permission to do that, because it is my work and stuff. So so she started doing that. I know somebody, followed her on Twitch and stuff, and followed her, was watching her on YouTube, and then they commented, I think maybe followed me on TikTok too, and they said, I really like your illustrations, and they had just become a grandmother, so they want to know when the book is done so they can add it to the library. And so that just warms my heart. It warms my heart, because it is a really cute story about the little, the dreams of the little dinosaur, but also his relationship with his mother. So I'm sure it'll be a book that's really special to me and my sister who's working on it, especially, given the loss of my mom. So I'll be just excited when I can share it with you guys, and I'll mention it here or there as the progress continues. And I should just kind of share more progress or whatever for my book stuff. I know I try to mention every day, but just in general, I don't feel like I self promote well enough. And I don't know if that's just like a bit of shyness or what, I don't know, but I just should get better at it, I guess. April said that you are on a 14-day ban on Facebook. The overlords of social media. I don't know if I got flagged for something the other day. I posted it. It was about the Daniel Penny case. And I said, I hope he gets justice. Maybe somebody flagged it, but Facebook, it wasn't misinformation. It wasn't hate speech. They like flagged it as spam, and they removed the post, and they haven't like updated and said, oh, we made a mistake yet. So my account is probably flagged or suppressed a little bit. I'm not on a ban, obviously, because I wouldn't be able to post, but anyway, April said she's proud of the ban. Well, I hope it was worth it. Anyway, let's hop to it. So first thing, get out the way. Mr. Trump is free and clear right now as far as his indictment with the 34 felony counts. Now, to remind everybody, what the 34 felony counts were, it's for falsifying business records, and which is supposed to be a misdemeanor, and which should be like timed out by now, statute limitations passed. So in order to connect it, or to be able to get Trump, they had to upgrade it to a felony. There's questions to how Bragg even had the jurisdiction to be able to even come at him and do this anyway. So there's so many problems with this case, but they had to connect it to some kind of other crime, like the business falsification had to be aligned in pursuit of trying to commit another crime to make it a felony to upgrade it. So we're not exactly sure what that crime is. Like people say it's for campaign violations, campaign fund violations or whatever. And I'm like, okay, we'll cite the law that he broke, and people can't do that because he didn't violate campaign finance rules. He didn't. And normally when people violate campaign finance stuff, you can go to jail, like Dinesh D'Souza went to jail or whatever. But most people don't go to jail for stuff like that. I think that was mostly political motivated. He did do something wrong, don't get me wrong, but the degree to which they treated Dinesh probably had a lot to do with the fact that he made some movies and stuff about some leftists, and I think there was a political motivation to how harshly they treated him. But but most of the time people do violations and they get fined or something, not federal prison. But with Trump, basically they were upset, or the argument is that he was trying to hide the fact that he was with Stormy Daniels. And well, NDA, sure. And Trump's team is like, ooh, well, we wouldn't want that known or whatever for his wife. And so they're like, no, you wanted to keep it from the voters. And which, by the way, that's not a crime. It's not a crime to say, hey, I got this private thing going on. I'd rather keep it quiet, which people do NDAs all the time. Sometimes they do NDAs with people and they didn't even do anything wrong, or maybe they kind of did something wrong, but not illegal or anything like that. And they just want to keep, or there could just be allegations, but they just want to hush, basically people will say you did this and no, it's not, that's not what happened, but I'll just go ahead and pay it so we don't have to go through the courts or whatever. And that's actually what's going on with like Pete Hegseth kind of situation right now. He paid this woman off because he didn't want stuff to ruin, Fox, his job at Fox or whatever, and he wanted to keep that hush hush or whatever. So a lot of people want different records sealed, divorce proceedings, and all kinds of different stuff. Trying to keep stuff private and hidden from the voters or whatever, or general public. That's not a crime to throw this man in prison for. But they're saying that he shouldn't have used the private funds to pay for the private matter, that they should have used campaign funds to pay for it. Now, that is not how campaign funds work. Campaign funds, you pay for campaign t-shirts, campaign buttons, campaign buses, things like that. But paying off a porn star to keep her silent, that's not in the purview of what you use campaign funds for. So I guarantee you 100% if Donald Trump had used campaign funds to pay off Stormy Daniels, then he would have been in trouble for that. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Now, Trump should not be in those kinds of situations. Stormy Daniels did say that she didn't sleep with Trump, and I think she retracted it later or whatever, but let's say, I guess we won't know, no, but let's say he did. That's a terrible thing. It's paying our hush money is not a federal crime. So it's a really silly thing. So when people say that, oh, Donald Trump's a convicted felon, he's a convicted felon, he's a convicted felon, and I know the details of the case, and I know other presidents have blown up children, have droned weddings, spied on the American people, spied on Trump campaign, lied to the American people about whether we can keep our doctor or whatever. All kinds of shady stuff that's gone on with different presidents. And y'all want to put this man in jail over paperwork? Like, okay. It's just so, how am I supposed to take that seriously? Only the ignorant would be offended, I think. Anyway. Anyway, so Trump was supposed to be sentenced, and people were speculating, what are they even going to do? Because Secret Service has to be with him, which, by the way, some Democrats who were trying to strip him of Secret Service protection. And if he went to jail, would the Secret Service have to be with him? Would he be on house arrest basically the rest of his life? What would happen? So, they pushed the sentencing once, he got the nomination, other stuff like that. Well, I think the sentencing happened. He was probably found convicted after the primary and stuff, whatever. But they kept pushing it down the line. And so it got to after the election, and we're here, and they're basically letting it go. So I will share my screen so you guys can see it for yourself. It still looks a little small, so I'll probably have to read it off my phone to you guys. But great news for Trump. People were saying that he's basically running to stay out of jail, and much of that is true. And people probably feel like, oh, this is so corrupt that Trump is now not going to go to jail, and there's no justice in the world because Trump isn't going to prison for not using campaign funds to pay for a porn star. I can't get over it, guys. I just can't get over how stupid it is. I'm like, the Afghanistan exit, nobody got in trouble for that. Nobody got fired for that. The only real repercussions was that Biden's poll numbers took a dive and he just kind of never recovered from that. That's the only repercussions that happened as far as political consequence to that exit. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, and I'll stand on this. If Donald Trump was president during that withdrawal, and that withdrawal was as stupid and dangerous when Trump did it, I think he would have been successfully impeached for that, because you would have had Democrats who were enraged about it, and you would have had Republican crossover to make it happen. So that's my opinion. I don't think I'm wrong about it. I guess we can debate, but okay. So on November 19th, 2024, this court received separate submissions from defendant and the District Attorney of New York County, seeking various forms of relief in connection with the above captioned matter, which is, Donald Trump versus the people of New York. The respective applications are decided as follows. It is hereby ordered that defendants' request to leave to file a motion to dismiss pursuant to criminal procedure law, and it's further ordered that the joint request for the motion scheduled is granted. Oh, I think I skipped something. Let me back up. It is hereby ordered that defendant's request for leave to file motion to dismiss pursuant to a criminal procedure law is granted, and it is further ordered that the joint request for a motion scheduled is granted. Defendant's motion is due by the close of business Monday, December 2nd, 2024. The people's response is due by close of business Monday, December 9th, 2024. The court will not accept reply briefs. It is further ordered that the application to stay decision on defendant's CPL motion is granted pending receipt of the papers from all parties submitted to accordance with the motion schedule noted above. And it is further ordered that the joint application for a stay of sentencing is granted to the extent that the November 26, 2024 date is adjourned. The above constitutes the decision and order of the court. So, there you go. There you go. Good on Trump. It's over and done. I don't know if they're I don't think they'll be waiting 4 years later to revisit Mr. Old Dusty and put him in prison at that point. It's over. Now, I would have liked for it to be overturned and just thrown completely on its face, because it's stupid. It's a really stupid case, and now you get to hear Democrats say, "Oh, this is he's above the law, etc." Blah blah blah. No, he's not above the law. And the people knew what they were voting for and knew the details, and they decided to still make him president. On The View, when they were talking about, electing a felon, Sonny said something about that and said, I want to see all these on all these applications where it says, felon. I want to see that gone, because if we can elect a president, then you can hire a felon, and people can hire a felon if they want to, but that's you still want the information. Like, we have the information about Trump's case, and the people can make an informed decision. You don't want employers to be able to make an informed decision about the history of the people who they're bringing into their business and having associate with their customers. That's pretty stupid. Like, you people, I understand it's really hard when people have a bias against felons for what they did or allegedly did or whatever, but it is what it is, and there's consequences to actions, and people, you can try to help people overcome their biases and encourage them to grant second chances to people. And there's people who gone to jail, to prison and stuff, and have reformed and totally changed their life around. And gosh, David Wood is, if you don't know David Wood, he has one of the most interesting testimonies ever about how he came to God. It's so interesting. Him and then he helped his friend who's a Muslim come to Christ. And you can David Wood has a YouTube channel. He's had a YouTube channel for a long time. Apologetics. Let me see what it is. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But it's really fascinating. I don't want to. It's so fascinating. He's a really good video about it on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it, because it's very cinematic how they make it. Well, he made it. How he made it. Apologetics Roadshow is one of his channels, but also there's something else. Let me see what I can find. The testimony video. The testimony video is under. Well, I guess it is on Apologetics Roadshow. He has another channel though. But How God Destroyed My Atheism Christian Testimony is the name of the video. Let me just show you what it looks like. It's, if you guys haven't seen it, I'm not trying to talk about it too long, because one, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, and two, I this is something I've geeked out about. I love this story so much, and I always get excited when I can share this particular story with people. But this is the video, How God Destroyed My Atheism. So he has his profile picture is an anime character called One Punch Man right now. So go, I know my stuff is mirrored, so go ahead and watch it. Go ahead and watch it, please. It's a really, really great video. So anyway, I don't want to spoil it, but do that tonight. But people can have tremendous changes from when they leave, the system. And you got to offer grace, and a lot of people need those second chances. Who don't have some kind of second chance, and they will sadly turn back to crime, and because they feel that that's the only way that they can make money, make a life for themselves, is doing that kind of stuff. But employers still deserve to know. Employers still deserve to know. And it's a weird shift to have when all this time they were ragging on Trump for being a felon. And some Democrats noted that, by the way. They're like, I thought we were for felons and reform and second chances and all this stuff. And it's fine if you want to call Trump a felon, but to be so like anti-felon and have all this rhetoric because he's a felon, you guys are really disgracing all of the reforms that you guys seem to want to stand up for. So They just made themselves look silly, as always. As always. Speaking of making themselves look silly, I told you guys the other day that the bathroom fight at Capitol Hill was over already. And I told you guys that the bathroom fight was over because McBride, which Tim I think is his real name, but Sarah McBride, who's newly elected to Congress and will serve in the 119th Congress, said, "Okay, I will follow the House rules and I'll stay out of the bathroom, even though I disagree with it." And they're still mad about it. They're still mad about the bathroom, even though he already conceded. I said this was a good move. This was a smart move for him to just concede. And then, especially with Nancy Mace being so aggressive, and I understand her being aggressive because of her background, what happened with her sexual assault, but she just trolled a little too hard, I think. And this is not the only instance. Nancy's just kind of different. But they're still choosing to fight this as a whole, as a party, as a movement, and it's a losing issue. So Hakeem Jeffries was on The View and they were talking about it. So I'll play that clip for you guys, but I don't understand the strategy.
Every Congress person has a bathroom in their, every Congressperson has a bathroom in their office. So she's got a bathroom she can use in her office. And I'm sure she can use your bathroom and the bathroom of every Democrat and every person who's not a bigot in the United States Congress. We have.
Before I let him speak, what is wrong with this woman who was supposed to be like a Republican at first and just kind of flipped her lid or whatever? If I don't want a man in my bathroom, I'm a bigot? That's a man. He's a man. I don't care if you cut your stuff off and you're a eunuch all of a sudden. You're still a man. You're still a man. I mentioned there's a privacy issue, there's a safety issue. Privacy, there's a lot of stuff that women do in bathrooms. You know, they may change in the bathroom. I've changed in bathrooms. People may feed their children in bathrooms. They change babies in bathrooms and stuff. You know, they may, if depending on what you're wearing, you may have to, even to go to the bathroom, you may have to, strip down a little bit. You know, I wore a jumpsuit a couple weeks ago when the bathroom had to untie it in the back, you know, take it down. You know, it was technical to get it, you know, to the toilet or whatever. And then people might be wearing girdles and all kinds of different stuff. It's just an ordeal. Dudes just unzip their fly and it's over. Like women do more in our bathrooms than men will. So there's a privacy concern, and sometimes women when I was in high school, I didn't even want to like change in front of other girls. You know, I was shy about doing that stuff. So, you know, I wouldn't be out in the open. I would actually go in the bathroom stall and stuff because I didn't want to just be all open with everybody else. So to add that element of you're not just around women, you're around men with gender dysphoria, with some kind of mental condition in the bathroom with you. Why can't people understand? And it's not that they can't understand, it's just they're so gung-ho on proving their point or sticking by this nonsense because that's how they express their empathy, or I don't know, that's not even good to say. That's how they virtue signal. I get that's the only way to really say that's how they express virtue, by sticking up for this other and calling everyone else a bigot. It is so stupid to call women bigots because they don't want men in their bathroom. So beyond the privacy, there is a safety issue. There are people who don't want men in there because they are concerned about the wrong man being in there. And it is strange, you know, I don't think every trans woman or whatever is some kind of threat to your life or whatever. I guess they could be, but do I think that they intentionally are coming in to sneak into the bathroom to do some kind of harm? We have seen instances where dudes have done that, but you know, I am gravely concerned about the aggression to which these men fight to be able to come into women's private areas. That's very predatorial and concerning to me. So you could people who just say, okay, I respect it, I'm not going to come in the bathroom, like I will go to a single stall, I will go in the men's room, whatever. I would hate the last thing I want to do is to make women feel uncomfortable. That would make me feel so much better. But people who go in the bathroom and take selfies, which by the way, there is a selfie of Sarah McBride in a bathroom being like, I'm not supposed to be here, so negative 1,000 points to you. But there are different pictures of trans women who go in bathrooms and then they hike up their leg as if it's some kind of animal kill in a safari after they've slayed the bathroom, our private spaces. So that is really concerning. And then there's sometimes I see different trans people like, no, I belong in the bathroom, I'm a woman, and I look at their profile, I'm like, this is literally a male porn star who wants access to my bathroom. Like, no, you can't be here. And then the other concern is the principle of the matter is if they can be in the space just because they're a woman, they could be in all the spaces because they're a woman, you know, and they're not. And pretending like they're a woman is a distortion of reality. It's dishonesty, and it's bad for our society to alter everything around this falsehood. It's disordered, and it'll only lead to social and moral decay. We have to draw the line somewhere. And I think there's lots of lines that we should draw, but you can't come in our bathroom. You can't come in our locker room. You can't come in our spa, especially nude spa where people get nude and all that kind of different stuff. In our sorority houses, just stop. Just stop. We are not bigots. We are not bigots. But there's people, they're focusing on this, calling people bigots for not wanting men in our bathrooms. Have they done an episode about people online saying that they're not allowed to go to Thanksgiving because they voted for Trump, like, and defending those people? I haven't seen or heard about it. Like that's a bigotry. These people are bigots. Sonny's a bigot. Sonny is a bigot, man. But not wanting a dude in your bathroom doesn't make you a bigot. So shame on her. Yeah, it's bad enough. Like you got the trans women being all loud and stuff, but then these psychopathic, toxic empathy women who just go along with it, who just make everything so hard for everyone else. But you know what? You're in the minority with this position. So keep fighting hard if you want to about this. You're just going to continue to lose.
Bathrooms here in this building, it just says all genders.
Yeah.
Why can't they just do that everywhere?
Yeah,
Well,
there are all gender bathrooms in many of the Capitol office buildings, not necessarily in the Capitol itself, but we're going to work through that.
Renovate.
So whatever, you can make single sex dolls, but he has his own bathroom. He has his own bathroom. So AOC also went on a little rant. It wasn't a little rant, by the way, but we'll play the rant. By the way, Nancy Mace. I have not listened to the voicemail. I did. Maybe we should listen to it together. But people are leaving voicemails, and she is just posting their numbers. She's just posting their whole numbers. So be careful in your threatening post, I suppose, because someone could out you when you leave the evidence behind. Here's a crazy rant from AOC about the bathroom stuff.
What Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls. Because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? in order because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans is disgusting. It is disgusting. And frankly, all it does is allow these Republicans to go around and bully any woman who isn't wearing a skirt because they think she might not look woman enough. People have a right to express themselves, to dress how they want, and to be who they are. And if a woman doesn't look woman enough to a Republican, they want to be able to inspect her genitals to use a bathroom. It's disgusting. And everybody, no matter how you feel on this issue, should reject it completely. What are they doing? They're doing this so that Nancy Mace can make a buck and send a text and fundraise off an email. They're not doing this to protect people. They're endangering women. They're endangering girls of all kinds. And everybody should reject it. It's gross. Thank you.
It's gross. Okay, AOC. This was insane. Miss Googly-eyed weirdo. What an insane rant. This is a straw man. Like, no one is saying, no one has suggested that that they're going to go on some kind of hunt to see different people's genitals. That is not in reality what would happen at all with this. So they have to go to the most extreme place because their opinion is the one that is extreme and out of step with the American people. So that's the talking point. So many times I hear different conversations with pro-trans people or people who are trans or whatever, and they'll combat the right and be like, why are you guys so obsessed with people's genitals? Why are you so as if we're perverts or whatever? These people want to have all these gross books in the libraries for the kids at school, or try to turn around and be like, why you guys are so obsessed with trans people and their genitals. Yeah, people are concerned about mutilation of children. People are concerned about the sterilization of children. People are concerned about warping reality and trying to force people to comply and use people's pronouns, preferred pronouns, all the other kind of stuff, violating people's, First Amendment rights and in the guise of like hate speech laws and other kind of garbage. Yeah, people are concerned about a lot of things, but the reality of what would happen with the bathroom situation and the reality of what has happened before the left decided to make it a big issue is that people would go to the bathroom and that was kind of it. Okay. Even trans women would go to the bathroom and be in and out of women's bathrooms. And it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it would, if you ran into this situation, you probably think it was a big deal, but usually they just go in and out and that was it. That was it. People weren't like, selfie, let me hike up my leg. Yeah, I'm in your bathroom. That's not what it used to be when these transsexuals would go in and out. The left made it a big deal. And there was some kind of city ordinance somewhere in the United States, and it kept going up and up and up and up and up. And it's been in our politics ever since. So now we're here. The reality of the situation is people will likely just go to the bathroom. And if you happen to know someone is a man, they'll be like, what are you doing in here? Please get out my bathroom. If I go talk to management and try to get them out the bathroom in the Capitol, maybe they'll go get a Capitol police officer and say, there's a man in my bathroom. But you know what? The reality of the situation is with Tim or Sarah, whatever he's calling himself these days, he is a man and everybody knows he's a man. Because one, if you identify as a trans man, like let's use Blair White for an example. If Blair White, some people feel like Blair White should be able to use whatever bathroom Blair White wants to use. If Blair White came into my bathroom, I would know that there was a man in my bathroom because I know who Blair White is. And I know that's a man. And I know Blair White is a man because Blair White's platform is, I'm a trans woman. So sometimes when people are like, why do people care, all this stuff, we know you're a man because you told us. It's your whole entire platform. It's your life. It's how you make your money, by alerting everyone that you were a man and that you still are a man. That's how we know you. That's what makes you special. So maybe you don't see there's still the privacy concern. Maybe if you threw that out of the window, maybe you threw the safety thing out of the window, there's still the principle of there's a man in the bathroom. There's still the principle issue. So people know that this congressperson is a dude named Tim who's going by Sarah. So, I'm not saying every suspect person you should like flag down the police and say, hey, they're in my bathroom. But if you see someone hiking up their leg and they're taking the selfie, making the territorial kind of click thing, that might be pretty sus. I mean, there's some people who, you know, they are not passing for sure, right? And sometimes you'll see trans people tell people, like, if you cannot pass, don't go in the bathroom. Like, be respectful to women. Now, and there's people who feel like, well, if they can pass, that's fine. I don't agree with that. I mean, the most practical matter you can say is, if you don't know, you don't know. And I guess that's the case. If you don't know, you don't know. I don't know how you would enforce that, to be honest. And they'll probably be in and out, especially if they're not some kind of modern autogynephiliac or just some trans activist who is trying to get kudos and be all adversarial online, taking the selfies and stuff. If you're just like, I have gender dysphoria, I did this to alleviate how I feel, the dysphoria, and I want to be in and out the bathroom and live my life and hopefully pass as much as a woman, you're probably going to go in and out the bathroom and no one's going to be none the wiser. But if you make a platform off of being a dude who thinks he's a woman, we all know you're a dude who's trying to use the women's bathroom. We all know. So no, AOC, no one is saying that Republicans are going to enforce these bathroom rules by having police and other people check the genitals of little girls. That's crazy. And you know it's crazy. I don't think you're this stupid. I don't think you're this stupid, AOC. I think she's a lot savvier than people make it seem. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Let me show you something else that's real dumb before I let you go. Well, before I switch topics anyway. Someone, I don't know who this person is. Maybe I ought to let me see if I can. I don't know who this person is. It's always about bathrooms, they said. So they have Nancy Mace in this picture of a bathroom and it says biological. And then they shared this image here of a white woman in front of a white only bathroom. Now, this is sick. This is gross. My friend, this is Sav, said separating black and white people isn't the same as telling men no. I need you racists, to stop comparing black people to predatory and delusional men. Amen. Amen to that. I think it is weird and insulting. I'm not saying I'm like deeply offended and crying my pillow at night or enraged, but it is offensive, just in principle, in general, to compare the plights of African Americans with trans people and saying you can't come in a woman's bathroom. To compare that to racial discrimination is disgusting. You people are sick. There's a difference in the melanin of my skin versus the delusions in someone else's mind. Why are you comparing black people to people who are unwell? Why? Why are you choosing to do that? What are you saying about black people when you're making those comparisons? These are not the same thing. These are not the same thing. Women saying that we want our own space is not bigoted. It's nothing like racial discrimination, and people need to get over it. And again, they're in the minority with this issue. They can keep pushing and pushing and pushing if they want, but people have had enough. But proceed at your own precaution. And by the way, there's some trans people I saw online, like on TikTok and other stuff. There's this one trans man who had voted for Trump, and excuse me, she said that and she wasn't alone. They're like, a lot of these activists have really ruined progress, and they're saying that there was one video that someone made, this trans man made, talking about how they're going to block some access to stuff to like to the blockers and other things like that. And if they said, if you remove gender dysphoria from the DSM-5 and people don't say it's a mental illness, then it is like a cosmetic sign of kind of extra thing, and you start messing with the insurance and what is or what isn't covered. And so they're like, I might not be able to get my hormones and stuff covered anymore because you people were so offended that it was covered under a mental illness, and so now it's not there anymore. So why would it be like under a medical thing that's necessary if it's not to treat some kind of mental condition? So they're messing up their own stuff. They're messing up their own stuff with their crazy activism. So I'll move on. But Anna can sit all the way down. This Greta chick can sit all the way down. We want our own spaces. And that's the end of it. So anyway, Matt Gaetz is no longer going to be running. Well, he's no longer going to be in Congress. And he had resigned while he was chosen. Now, some people say he resigned because he wanted to stop information about the investigation that the ethics committee was doing to come out. He wanted to resign before that would happen. And I don't know, maybe I said my opinion that, the DOJ didn't arrest him, and Matt Gaetz said the same thing. He was on Charlie Kirk's show, and he said that he would be in jail if if he had done something criminal like that. He's hated by the DOJ and the Biden administration and stuff. So they could get him on any of that stuff, then they would, and he could defend himself. But he said, but that would take like maybe a month of going back and forth through the details, because the witnesses or whatever who made different allegations are not credible. And once you start going through, the reports or whatnot, and what you're talking about, that all that stuff will fall apart. And he said, we don't have that time for all that stuff. Trump needs to get started right away. And he didn't want to be a distraction. So he, withdrew all that stuff. But he's also, people suspected like, well, he withdrew from the 118th Congress, but he was still elected. So does that mean he's going to go back to Congress? And no, it doesn't. He's leaving. So some people suspect that there was some actually really, 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 really bad stuff that he was trying to stop from coming out, and that's why he resigned, and he's not coming back. And he's just kind of, I don't know, maybe he could do podcasts or whatever, but just resign from public life like that. And I don't know, maybe he could be gearing up a run for, I know he wanted to run for governor. I know he and Byron Donalds and stuff, like there's some names out there for running for Florida's governor. And I don't know if he still thinks that's possible or what, but is he just going to kind of resign from all sort of public life? I don't know. There's different thoughts going around, but I don't know how bad the report could actually be as far as some things that are substantial and they're real. Because if the DOJ could have busted him, I just feel like they would have busted him. Now, that doesn't mean there's not bad behavior in it that would not be very flattering, that he maybe wouldn't want more stuff out, But as far as criminal, I just don't see it. I could be wrong, but that's just where my mind goes. But he's denied allegations, as The View keeps having to say with their legal notes. He's denied it, and it's been repeatedly found that there was no wrongdoing. But he's apparently not going to be coming back to Congress himself.
So Matt, I now have to ask about just what your plans are, and it's okay if you have to, punt on it because you might not know. It's important to know you resigned from this Congress, not the next Congress. Our audience is 100% behind Matt Gaetz, by the way. They are very, very upset that you were not able to get all the way to Attorney General. I have to ask, what is next for Matt Gaetz?
I'm still going to be in the fight, but it's going to be from a new perch. I do not intend to join the 119th Congress. There are a number of fantastic Floridians who've stepped up to run for my seat, people who have inspired with their heroism, with their public service. And I'm actually excited to see Northwest Florida go to new heights and have great representation. Charlie, I've been in an elected office for 14 years. I first got elected to the state house when I was 26 years old, and I'm 42 now. And I've got some other goals in life that I'm eager to pursue with my wife and my family. And so I'm going to be fighting for President Trump. I'm going to be doing whatever he asks of me, as I always have. But I think that 8 years is probably enough time in the United States Congress. In Florida, our voters got to vote on term limits for state government, and the campaign was 8 is enough. And so you can only do 8 years in the Florida House of Representatives. And so it seems like a pretty poetic time to allow that great new blood to come in, to allow my district to have high quality representation. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not taking off for a tropical excursion for the rest of my life. I am here to help save this country. And one thing the great patriots at Turning Point know, we need people at every level. We need brilliant lawyers on the outside. We need tough congressmen and congresswomen on the inside. We need a leadership structure under President Trump that's going to allow for durability of our movement and the ability to continue this great realignment of our politics. And so I'll play a part in that. I plan to be a big voice, but maybe not as an elected member of the government.
And maybe not as an elected member. That doesn't mean that he still won't be working in the administration in some kind of way with something that doesn't have to pass some kind of confirmation hearing. So Charlie Kirk also was saying to his followers, there's 5 reported people who weren't going to support him and he wasn't get the numbers. And there's probably more than 5, but they didn't have the numbers. And I understand there's people really upset about Matt Gaetz, but his actual legal experience just isn't that strong. Now there's been an upgrade though. Trump selected Pam Bondi, and Pam Bondi does have a lot of experience. So I'm gonna play this clip from CNN, and then I'm gonna play this clip from MSNBC because they're upset because they say that she's competent and they're scared.
Pam Bondi is, without a question, qualified to be Attorney General. She's been a prosecutor for 20 years in Florida. For 8 of those, she was the Attorney General of the state. That's a very big, very complicated job, and that level of experience is on par with or better than most United States Attorneys General that we've seen over the past 50 years or so. Pam Bondi.
So can't say she's not qualified. She will probably get through. And she's also loyal to Trump and a fierce defender. So they're getting a lot of good stuff with Pam there. Scott Jennings also was on CNN talking about her.
This is a massive upgrade. I've talked to a couple people up on the Hill already. There's a sigh of relief that now we have somebody here, 2-term AG, strong record on drug enforcement and opioid issues, a total hawk on immigration, politically supportive of Trump, obviously. I don't know a Republican in the country who doesn't love Pam Bondi. So you were starting with Gaetz, a nominee who was underwater significantly to start and was going to always be hard to get to the surface. With Bondi, I do think you're starting above water. And as long as she performs in her hearings, and look, this is somebody who's been through 2 elections in a really big state. And so a lot of public vetting of her has gone on already. So I think this is a great move by Trump to be pragmatic and tell Gaetz to get out, and a really good move to go with Bondi. This is not a shaky limb. This is a sturdy branch he's going with for AG here.
Yeah, and that's the feeling. There are some people who are upset, like Dana Lash is pointed to Pam Bondi and some stuff she said, but they were in support of red flag laws. So I I mean, that's concerning, but hopefully that's not going to be an issue with different stuff that comes up, but I can understand being her concerns with that for sure. There are people upset because Lindsey Graham was happy, and so people are like, oh my gosh, if Lindsey Graham is happy, or maybe most people will be happy. Like, it's okay that someone you don't likes something that you should like, okay? And people were also upset because she had supported Jeb Bush in the past, which Matt Gaetz also supported Jeb Bush in the past. They're from Florida. And from reports and other things like that, Jeb was actually pretty good governor, from my understanding. So people supporting Jeb in the past, that's not a reason to be like, oh, she shouldn't be AG. She's way more qualified than a lot of people who had the position, and way more qualified than the person who Trump just nominated. It is an upgrade. She can probably get confirmed. Be happy about that. It's a W, take it. Take the win.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment, that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side, or anyone who cared about liberty or justice, was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses, and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that with a little more depth with both of you, including her record on civil rights, LGBTQ rights, and other issues that are front and center at the DOJ, and which we know were also big campaign issues this cycle.
Pam Bondi.
Yeah, so they're upset because she's competent and can do the job, and she's just better than Matt, guys. And yeah, it sounds like she'll be great then, if they're concerned. If they're concerned, she's actually gonna be able to perform. It's so funny how they'll be so concerned about Trump and what his folks will do. Like what? Like actually executing laws and following the laws and doing things, securing our border and all that stuff. Like, people are concerned that Trump will be able to do the things that he said he was going to do. And, like, well, maybe Matt Gaetz would have been too confused. And this is why, that meme when Trump it's like black and white or grayscale or something like that. And Trump is sitting down and he's like this, sitting in his chair, and he says, they're not actually after me. They're after you. I'm just in the way. When Trump was president in 2016, people would say, well, I don't really want Trump to be impeached, because if he was impeached, we would get Mike Pence. And Mike Pence is actually conservative, and he actually believes what he says and all this stuff. So they're really concerned, not with Trump. Trump isn't the person they're concerned about. They're concerned with people like Mike Pence. And I know a lot of people don't like Mike Pence because of, January 6th, and they thought that he should have did the election thing, and he talked about Trump speaking smack afterwards or whatever. But Mike Pence, to a lot of people, was a really solid conservative. And that's what they hated about him. They hated him. They hated his ideals, his principles, his religion, that he's brave enough to stick to it. That's who they actually hate. That's who they're actually afraid of. Trump is the person who's in the way. Trump is the person who's in the way. So are they really afraid of Matt Gaetz? They thought he was a little incompetent or whatever. Like, he's annoying to folks. They didn't have that much experience, and maybe they could get by getting some wins or whatever as they build up the resistance. Pam Bondi coming in poses a problem to them. They don't care about how qualified someone actually is. They don't care about that stuff. They're afraid of that because they're afraid of people who have competency and morals. Because if you can actually push the law, push, keeping our borders safe, push, school choice, push that women can actually be safe in their bathrooms. They're like, dag nammit. Trump is just in the way. They'd always say stuff like, there were think pieces like in the primary that was how DeSantis is actually worse than Donald Trump. Because Trump was literally Hitler, guys, but DeSantis actually knows what he's doing. He actually knows how to govern. He can get all this stuff done. Again, Trump isn't really the person who they hate. It's you and it's me. And that is why so many people defend him, because they do see him as the human shield or a bulldozer who would just go tear down the system, who wants to end us, who legitimately hate us. Anna called us a bigot, guys, because we don't think men should be in our bathroom. They hate our guts. They hate our freaking guts. It's just flipping insane, these people. Let me play for you guys Megyn Kelly talking to Pete about Pete Hegseth and his legal issues, because he's kind of getting the Kavanaugh treatment here. And the story doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So she's going to run through it really quick. This is about a 5.5 minute clip on Charlie Kirk.
Megyn, I now want your reaction to some of these accusations being thrown at my friend, Pete Hegseth. And I'm sure that you've, I don't know if you've gotten along with him or not in the past, but I mean, he has a great reputation among many people. What do you make of this smear campaign against Pete Hegseth?
Yeah, no, I knew Pete well when I was at Fox. I'm the reason he became a Fox News contributor. He was coming on for free, and my executive producer and I went to Roger and we said, you've got to hire this guy. He's incredible. And he did get hired. So I loved Pete and I thought he was great. I don't recommend marrying Pete Hegseth. I'm going to be honest. Like, looking at his marital history, it's not an example of fidelity. Okay, so I'm just going to be honest and admit that up front. However, having difficulty in one's personal relationships, especially after having served 2 tours, which it's not uncommon for these combat vets to come back and not be able to navigate their love lives all that well, is much different than being a rapist. And this woman's story smells terribly. Now, I went through that police report line by line. I mean, I've got it right here in front of me, Charlie. It's like, you can see the amount of time I spent with this thing, with the tabs and the highlighting. And your audience may know I practiced law for 10 years, was a litigator, was a trial lawyer. This woman's story smells. And if you read the media coverage about this allegation, let me tell you, you will not learn the facts that I'm about to give you. You will learn that they were together at some conference in Monterey back in 2017, October, and that she's alleging that he may have given her a date rape drug and raped her, and that he's alleging it was a consensual affair. And that later, a few years later, he paid her off to stay silent when she began to rattle his cage about a possible lawsuit against him. What you will see in this police report is that she was at a bar with him after the event. Her husband and children were down the hotel room hall. They were there too. She was with her husband and children, 2 of them. And she was at this bar with Pete after the event at which he spoke. She was part of the Republican Women's Conference. That others said she was flirting with him. She was touching his leg, etc., flirting with him. That he seemed to be more focused on a different woman, not this one. That Pete would later tell the police he never even had it as a thought in his mind that he would hook up with this woman, who apparently he didn't have any interest in. But then this woman escorted him out of the bar and was going back to his hotel room with him. And at 1:30 in the morning, she was seen on videotape, which the police reviewed and reported the following facts about. She was fine. She wasn't stumbling. He looked drunk. And security had been called on him because they had had some sort of a fight at 1:30 in the morning out by the pool that led 2 hotel guests to call and say, could you quiet them down? Now, first of all, that's totally inappropriate. She told cops they were arguing over his treatment of women. You're supposed to be his handler for the conference, and you're getting into a personal argument with him over his treatment of women, so loud and belligerent that hotel guests are calling security. You crossed your line. You're behaving inappropriately, madam. She says, and so do the other guests that saw her in the bar beforehand, that she had one drink, one champagne. The police say, and an eyewitness who saw her in the bar, two eyewitnesses who saw her in the bar, and the hotel security guy who came to tell them to be quiet by the pool, all say she was fine. She wasn't intoxicated. She wasn't stumbling. She wasn't slurring. Pete was drunk. She was fine. The videotape then shows them leaving the pool and going back to his hotel. And it shows them approaching the pool from 1:15 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Their arms are locked, like a boyfriend and girlfriend might be. She's smiling. She does not appear drunk. So as a 1:15 and then 1:30, she's locking arms with him. She's smiling. She does not appear drunk to 4 witnesses who lay eyes on her, either in person or via videotape, including the police. She goes back to his hotel room sometime between 1:30 and 2 a.m. She is texting her husband during this time. She sounds totally fine in these texts. She does not sound like she is intoxicated or out of her mind at all. And then the texts shut down, and she has an unaccounted for period from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. The husband calls her twice during that time period. The husband gets out of bed to go check the hotel bar, looking for his wife, wondering where the hell she is. There's no one in the bar called Knuckles in the Hyatt Regency. He goes back home to the room. At 3:40, he tries her again. He says she arrives back home to the hotel room at 4 a.m. She's fine. She's not stumbling. She's not slurring. When was she drugged? When was she drugged? Did Pete get her back to the hotel room, slip her a Mickey at 2 a.m., take advantage of her, and then at 4 a.m. got her back to her hotel room totally fine? Because the witnesses before and after the time frame say she was fine.
Gotta run.
A coworker at the next day said she wasn't hungover.
What a great summary, Megan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so there's a summary of different stuff that happened. Texting your husband is wild, man. So some not good moral things going on there, but just because you're doing that doesn't mean that you essayed somebody. And so on The View, they had to read a legal note about Pete did pay them off, and they were just kind of like, but he denies the allegations or whatever that were there, and they're just like, oh, but why would you pay someone off? It seemed to be their thing. And I'm like, why are you stupid? Why are you, all you cackling hens, stupid? You know women. You are women. You obviously know someone who has it in their character to do that to a man of a high profile nature who would like to make a stink about a man, to set them up to get funds or hush money or whatever paid, some kind of payout if they can, and take advantage. Like, there's women out there who do that stuff. But I understand they don't want to give Pete here the benefit of the doubt. They could at least, go through the reports or something. And if you have common sense, that story just doesn't, all the stuff just doesn't add up. There's also some other interesting people who are being rumored to be nominated for the Trump campaign. I mean, not campaign, but cabinet stuff. Russell Vought is he already served in the Trump administration before. We'll talk about that more probably later. If he actually gets the nomination or whatever, but that's what's being said right now, that Trump's going to re-nominate him. But he actually, in his confirmation hearing, that's when he was, if you've seen that video, the Young Turks listed it on their pages, Bernie Sanders destroys religious bigot. And he was basically saying normal Christian stuff that he wrote about for the college that he went to. And Bernie Sanders was like, you don't think Muslims know God? And he's like, I believe everyone should be treated with dignity, but I wrote something that affirms the Christian faith for my Christian school. And Bernie just like was yelling at him stuff and raised his voice, and it was a very inappropriate, very inappropriate. So I'll have to share that video that I made some time ago about Democrats and their religious bigotry, because it does feature Bernie Sanders and stuff on there, and AOC and other folks. So I'll have to whip out that video for you guys. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com/ well, if you just go to blacktnews.com, you guys can check out that new article that I made about the election, and I'm working on other articles and stuff too. So just, drop in your emails on the website so you know when I send out a different email blast and whatnot. Excuse me. You guys can also check out different merchandise at blacktnews.com, like Pro-Choice Men Are Sus, or this cute little You're Not the Special mug, or we got the pumpkin spice mug. We do have those in different t-shirts. You guys can also check out different books that I've written that are available on Amazon, like my children's chapter book, Super Kid. We also got all kinds of different stuff you guys can check out, so I recommend that you do. And there's a link in the description. It'll take you to my website there. Also, I don't know where some of you are watching on Facebook, some of you guys are watching on YouTube. Occasionally someone might pop into my Twitch or something, but I do have other platforms where I post on. I share a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I'll share a lot of videos that I'll post on TikTok. But I post on TikTok quite a bit, so a lot of people don't want to do TikTok and stuff. But if you do have one, I do have links in the description where you can find me there. So I just want to let you guys know about that. Anyway, God bless you guys, and I will see you on Monday.